a settlement has been reached between the Archdiocese of St. Louis and Jane Doe number 92. This all came down just about 2 hours ago, but funding those projects means voters will have to approve tax hikes. Our Mike Colombo joins us live this morning to break down the details. A boater was killed over the weekend at the Lake of the Ozarks. Police say he was arrested by Missouri Highway Patrol, put on their boat, handcuffed, and then fell off and drowned.
Stop sign ripped out of the ground, tossed around, and there's another sign that had a big issue in this. Check it out. We are at the Cedar Grove apartment. I've been walking around this White Castle. Check out what I just found. This is a shell casing.
We are told that felony charges have been filed against 31-year-old Alyssa Jackson, but they do know the suspect is the man who called police in all this. Once police got here, he showed a gun. That is when the police had to respond with deadly force. Each has 500 sheets in it, so the budget that senators will vote on and most likely pass today is bigger than these together.
I can slide just by pushing my hands, so you can imagine just how slick.
It is gorgeous outside right now. Awesome for a Monday in January.
Right.
Katie, you're saying that's going to be a different story.
People are getting ready inside, then they run outside quickly. They get in their car for just a second.
The clerk flat out took matters into his own hands, pulling down the guy's t-shirt so he could get a good look at his face. Researchers at Michigan State University have developed a new technology, extracting drinkable water from manure. It's pretty hot. Oh, whoa, it's really hot. Oh, my goodness.
What we often can't report is the victim's story. Laura Hettiger joins us live from the Central West End. And Laura, you cover a lot of crime, but today's story a little different.
I sure do, Andre, and in fact, I've covered 58 deaths just this year, and I keep count of that number for a couple of reasons. One, to better track crime and crime trends, and two, in hopes of following up with those families, and that's what I'm doing today with the story of Kenneth Walkins. I need to tell you, it was actually a police officer who told me about this 22-year-old father who should just be waking up for his final day of college classes. Instead, I wound up meeting his mother, who told me that his life was cut short right inside this apartment building, all because of senseless gun violence.
And I just always told him to be careful, just be careful out there because people are crazy. And his thing is, I'll be okay, Mom.
We first told you about Angela Walkins' son Kenneth in early July. Instead of sharing happier times like his graduation from Kirkwood High School,
the crime of murder is shaking up.
Our cameras brought you here to the 5500 block of Pershing in the Central West End. This is where he was murdered.
He wasn't even out in the streets. He was in his apartment.
Someone killed Walkins one day before he was supposed to move out of his first apartment.
My last weekend. I say, yeah, this is your last weekend here.
Angela tells me she remembers almost everything about that last weekend of June, especially the first thing doctors told her.
They said there was nothing they can do.
Angela is now raising Kenneth's son, her grandson. She says Kenneth's death is even more unfortunate because he was just months away from becoming a police officer. Something even more remarkable because one of his best friends says he was a former gang member.
That was one of our main connections, was the fact that we both used to be in the streets. He was a Blood and I was a Crip, and it was kind of weird that we actually were able to come together and be friends.
Police, family, and friends also say what really stood out about Kenneth was his drive to make his life better.
That was his motivation as well, taking care of his mom, his son, his sister, and that's what he always talked about. I gotta do this, I'm gonna make it.
And unfortunately for all the people this future police officer could have touched and helped, Kenneth is now made into a crime statistic. He is homicide number 49 out of 90 in the city of St. Louis, and city police tell me there have not been any arrests in this case. Live in the Central West End, Laura Hettiger, News 4.
The only thing more disturbing than a child's murder is learning that a family member is indeed charged with the crime. Laura Hettiger, I know that you've been talking to people who know this family well. What are they saying?
Well, Sharon, we have been here all day in Watson since 7 o'clock this morning. We've been talking to volunteers, neighbors, authorities, and investigators. But I'll tell you, it's those family friends, the ones who say they knew the family who lived here before Willow disappeared, that really gave us an idea of who this family is.
They were a very close-knit family that Debbie, her children were her whole life. Willow was the grandma's whole life.
Today, that close-knit family must come to terms that one of their own, 22-year-old Justin DeReich, is the man police say killed little Willow Long, his own niece. Tina Sapp is a close family friend and neighbor of the DeReichs.
So knowing them on a personal level has actually been real hard.
She says Debbie and Dale DeReich, Willow's living grandparents, alerted her and her husband, the town mayor, about the 7-year-old's disappearance before they called the authorities. She also says Justin DeReich was the last person to see Willow alive. As the search ended and the criminal investigation started, we had to know if all these volunteers spent 2 days searching for a little girl that someone inside her own home knew would never come back home. Do you think someone took her out of the home, or do you think it was someone in the home?
I really don't know. I've had thoughts both ways. So I don't want to think the bad way, considering I know the family, and it's really hard for me to think and believe that someone inside the home had something to do with it. But there again, knowing Willow, she wouldn't have ventured off very, very far on her own.
And just within the last 10 minutes, I had a chance to speak with Willow's grandfather, that is Justin's father, and he told us quite a story of what he says happened to his granddaughter. And Sharon, News 4 is working very hard to confirm that story. Once we do, of course, we'll pass it along to everyone on News 4 and also our website, KMOV.com.
All right, Laura, could be quite a bombshell. You'll get back to us.
Laura Hettiger tracked down the head of transportation to find out if your kids are safe on the school bus. Laura.
And Jasmine, this is exactly where that bus fire happened. You can see all the damage it did to the grass around me. So yeah, you can tell this was a major fire. But get this, I found out the bus involved is only 3 years old, and it had been inspected and approved to be on these roads as recently as last Tuesday. So how in the world could this happen just 2 days later?
As far as we know, flames were coming out of the bottom of the bus.
And in seconds, this happened. Flames under the bus, flames shooting through it, and a plume of black smoke billowing into the air.
Right now we're working on determining, what exactly happened, what exactly occurred.
Tammy Webb is the head of transportation for VIC, a nonprofit spinoff from the desegregation program. She says this bus passed an inspection this year, and just Tuesday, it was approved to be on the road. I asked her, based on this video, should all 240 Durham buses in their fleet be re-inspected?
It seems odd that if it was approved on Tuesday, then this happens on Thursday.
Well, again, until we determine what was the situation, what exactly caused the situation, that then we'll take a look at what occurred.
Now it's up to Durham bus officials to go through the shell of this bus and figure out how this happened.
I would hate to speculate on what exactly occurred because, at this time we don't know.
A lot of unknowns remain in this investigation, especially just how much time passed between when the last student was dropped off and when those flames ripped through this bus. I'll explain why that spokesperson can't give me an answer to that, and also what the driver heard right before that fire happened, coming up all new on News 4 at 6. Reporting live in North St. Louis, Laura Hettiger, News 4. 6:08 on this Friday morning. You are taking a live look at Lambert International Airport. Hopefully you have some friends flying in for this Father's Day weekend. If so, today sounds like it's going to be a beautiful summer day. We'll check in with Kent coming up at 6:14. Right now, President Obama is weighing several military options, including airstrikes and intel assistance in Iraq. But the White House insists American troops back on the ground in that country is not an option. This all comes less than 3 years after U.S. forces left that country. Al-Qaeda-inspired militants have started creating chaos in several cities, including threatening to take over Baghdad. Overnight, we learned the bodies of 5 American soldiers killed in Afghanistan this week are back on U.S. soil. One of those killed was a 19-year-old from Illinois. The Pentagon says a coalition jet mistakenly bombed the U.S. Special Forces troops. If you can, go ahead and take a look at your screen. If you live or work in St. Charles County, you may have seen it in person.
The St. Charles County Ambulance District posted the signs this spring as part of a campaign to pass a property tax hike. Voters approved that tax increase, but our Emily Rao found out the district is already spending a lot more money. She joins us live from St. Charles County with more. Emily.
Hey, Andre, if you can take a look behind me here at this screen, that's what this kind of all stems from.
Thank you, Emily. Now, News 4 is learning another Madison County official is calling for oversight in how your tax dollars are being invested. This week, the county board chair proposed an independent firm watch over how Treasurer Kurt Prinzler invests county dollars. Prinzler has $130 million to invest for the county, and the board chair says dismal returns are hurting the budget.
This is costing the taxpayers money when we lose interest like we're losing today. It is just, I am just shocked.
Do you feel there's any reason why your investments for the county need oversight?
I really don't think so.
The treasurer says he's merely playing by the rules laid out by the state of Illinois and investing safely. But you might remember just last month, News 4 reported that the county auditor also called for an oversight committee to step in. We continue to track the fight against heroin abuse in our area, and in just a few hours, the Madison County Heroin Task Force will hold a public meeting at the County Administration Building. The task force is trying to figure out just how big of a problem this is in the Metro East and then figure out how to fix it.